Hello, everyone, and welcome to my ranking of the Fourth Doctor Adventures. This is try two. I did one before. I did a nearly 25-minute video on it, and it didn't pick up any sound. So I was talking into the ether. So this one is going to be a lot shorter. But I still want to give my thoughts on it. So, I have, through the past 2 weeks, been listening to the Fourth Doctor Adventures season 11 as we go right here. This was split into two parts. Part 1 was solo with the first two, and then part 3 was the 9 with the final 3 here. They also did something weird where the final episode was you could only get it from getting the full set, because the Fourth Doctor Adventures, they can be bought separately, because sometimes people look at the set and they're like, oh, okay, well, I don't want that story, I want that one though, I want that one, but I don't want the other two. So for the Fourth Doctor Adventures, Big Finish makes it so that way you can buy them separate, but not the season finale. You need to get the whole thing to get it. I got these on download with my friend Captain Jack Sparrow. So let's kick it off. We're gonna be a lot shorter this time. Sorry guys, you don't get the full 25-minute video where I was going in detail over what I liked about the story, because that video is gone forever now. Isn't that awesome? Don't you guys love it when stuff happens like that and you don't get it anymore? Oh, that's sweet. So, first story, Blood of the Time Lords. If my page here will load and I can get the info on the story. So, pretty much, the plot of the story is this takes place after the Deadly Assassin. Like, a couple minutes after the Deadly Assassin. The Fourth Doctor, he finds a book in his TARDIS called the Discord Grimoire. And what he wants to do is he wants to basically find out more about it. And he goes to a place called the Recusery. Now, the Recusery is a library on a moon of Gallifrey, and it's pretty much like a retirement home for dying Time Lords, the ones who are on their final life. They have no more regenerations. They're kind of sent there and live out the rest of their days. So, of course, he arrives, and, of course, as he arrives, a big conspiracy is going on. There's been a couple of deaths. The Doctor arrives. People have never seen him before. Did you do it? And the Doctor's just like, I just want to learn more about my book. And he is put on like a pseudo trial where it's like the light of the moon shines on him, and no Gallifreyan can tell a lie. So they ask him, did you kill him? The Doctor goes, yes, I killed her. I killed all the other deaths. It's all because of me, because I want to dominate the world. Obviously, we know that's not the Doctor. So the plot is who's actually doing it, and why are they framing the Doctor, and how are they framing the Doctor? Overall, I really like this one. Like I said in my previous version, this is comfort food. This is a nice, truly just comfortable listen of Doctor Who. It is a really good story. It makes you feel like this is the type of story what the Fourth Doctor Adventure set out to do, which is just entertain you with a really nice, fun story that doesn't make you question your morality or make you question the world around you. No, it's just for fun, man. We're just gonna have some fun. The whole tea time back in 1970 thing again. It's just fun. And it's real comfort. Like, this is a story I can so see myself re-listening to in the future, just because I want to have a good story. So, other characters. We have James Dreyfus as the Master, who, like I said previously, he is awesome. I love his Master. He is great. The way the Doctor and him interact is great, where the Doctor sees him and he goes, oh, you're very young, because, James Dreyfus is, like, the first Master. And the Doctor kind of, like, is comparing his Master to the Master he knows, Geoffrey Beevers. So, like, say the Master has him tied up, and the Doctor's like, aren't you going to explain your evil plan? He goes, why would I do that? And the Doctor goes, oh, you've got a lot to learn. Or he says, like, oh, he's so cute when he tries to be menacing. Like, stuff like that. That's funny. And I really like James Dreyfus as Master. It's stupid that we're never going to see him again, because he got canceled for believing in biology like most people in the world. And you know how it is with these ideologues. If you don't believe in their ideology, you're gone. And like I said before, there was a tweet by like the cover artist who called James Dreyfus "he who must not be named." It's like, oh my god, you guys are insane. Touch grass. There is, like I said, a twist involving the This is not a spoil at the Master's the villain of the story. It's on the freaking box set info. There is a twist with the Master in this story that I did not see coming. It is a fantastic twist. And I was like, oh my god, I should have seen that coming. After the twist happens, it's the type of you're like, oh, stupid, I should have known. I should have seen it coming. It is a really good twist. So, there's that. We have Eleonora, who's kind of like our companion of the week. Now, the theme of this story, of this box set this season, is that there is no set companion. The Doctor's traveling alone. This is after he leaves Sarah Jane, so he is all alone. He hasn't met Leela yet. So there's just companions of the weeks. Eleonora, she's good. I liked Eleonora. She's kind of like, not meek or shy type of thing, but she's like, she doesn't really want like conflict. She doesn't like to get involved in any of this stuff. And when like people of authority question her, she kind of like, it's just like, oh, okay, like, you know, like she just kind of wants to live her life peacefully being a librarian, because she's the librarian of the Reclusory. She used to be a member of the Celestial Intervention Agency, but she left, came here for her quote-unquote retirement because she couldn't really handle the fighting and all of that. So I like Eleonora. She has her own struggles that she works to overcome, and it's not done in the modern day feminist way. It's done in a way where you're like, yeah, come on, Eleonora, you can do it. You believe in her. We have Ansalon, another character, who is led to believe he is the Hermit. Y'all remember the Hermit from the Third Doctor? Ansalon we are led to believe he is an incarnation of the Hermit. And it's nice to see the Doctor have a Time Lord friend who doesn't want him dead and wants to help. Isn't that weird? Ansalon is also like the head of the Reclusory. It's under his domain. And then we have a couple other people I won't get too into because they kind of revolve around the story. So overall, the Reclusory, it's Blood of the Time Lords, is a really fun listen. Like I said, it's comfort food, man. I can just stick this on and know I'm going to have a great time listening to it. So I give it an 8.5 out of 10. So I'm just going to put it up here in like the high 8s right there. High 8s. The next story, the Ravencliff Witch. Now this story is a bit of a special one in this box set because this story introduces a character, Margaret Hopwood, who she is going to return eventually in the Fourth Doctor Ventures. So this story is more like an introduction to her, and we'll see her again in the future. So this story had a lot more to do because it has to make you like Margaret enough to want to be excited to see her return. And Margaret she's okay. She plays the stereotypical cranky old woman though. So I didn't think she's a bad character, but I'm not excited to see her return. I'm not anxiously waiting to be like, oh my god, Margaret's back. Oh my god. It's just something I'm going to have to listen to because it's next in the order. But the plot of the Ravencliff Witch is actually the Doctor lands in Ravencliff, which is a small town. It's got like a beach. There's a lighthouse. They just had a new power station put in. And there's this local legend of the Ravencliff Witch who, when she shows up, it's like a warning that something's about to happen. Right? So the Ravencliff Witch obviously shows up. And, just to determine what is the witch, what's going on, all that type of stuff. And of course the power station is involved and all that stuff. So, we have, like I said, we talked about Margaret. We have Amanda and Silas Keynes, a father-daughter. We they butt heads a lot because Amanda works for the power station. Silas is the lighthouse keeper, so they clash on that. They clash on the fact Silas wants Amanda to take over the lighthouse when he dies, and she doesn't want to. She's like, don't tell me how to live my life. All that stuff. But it's not like they hate each other type thing, or one person is right while the other person's wrong, which in modern day would be Silas is wrong and Amanda's right. It is like they still love each other. father-daughter. They still love one another. There's still a loving relationship in there. It's just they just disagree on some stuff. But at the end, they love each other, which is nice to see. We have Celia Banks, who she is a scientist brought in for the power station. Who she's the type of character in this story that takes a while to be convinced, but eventually she gets, convinced. Later on, we have Richard Earle playing Gordon Miles. I wanted to specifically call it Richard Earle because I've listened to a lot of the Sherlock Holmes Big Finish stuff, and Richard Earle plays Watson. So he does a lot of the narration for the stories, so you hear a lot of Richard Earle. So it was really fun to hear him play a different role. Gordon Miles is kind of our antagonist, not really an antagonist, but he's like the guy you could maybe see as a antagonistic type force. And he's like the guy in charge of the power station. Everything goes through him. And they allude to the fact he's kind of got like a pervy fascination with Amanda, who Amanda's very young. And if you know Richard Earle, he's not young. But it's like, she's like, I need to make a phone call. And he's like, it's not with a boy, is it? And she goes, no. And he goes, oh, okay, that's fine. Stuff like that. Like, they don't outright say it, but it's implied that he's kind of, got a thing there. And Nicholas Briggs plays John Fairweather. So Nicholas Briggs is not playing a monster for once. And John Fairweather, it is like Gordon Miles' partner. And so again, it's really weird to hear Richard Earle, and more specifically, it's weird to hear Nick Briggs play like an actual character in the story that's not a monster, And John Fairweather, he's the guy who they can very easily convince about the legend of the Ravencliff and pretty much believes everything right away. The Ravencliff Witch, this is written by David Llewellyn. And I was very intrigued with this one because I've heard a lot about David Llewellyn, mainly from his Torchwood stuff. And, I think the problem is, like, he's now writing a Doctor Who story, so he can't go as much as I think he wants to go. Because I hear a lot of good stuff from, like, his Torchwood and the stuff he does in the War Master range, where I think that's where he's allowed to let loose a lot more. But when you're writing Doctor Who, you are kind of stuck in you can only go so far. So I think that was the problem here. I have listened to a story of his before, which was Out of Time 2 with the 10th and 5th Doctor, which was really good. Really like that one. But this one, it was just a fine story. The reveal of what the witch is clever. I really like the reveal of what the witch is. And the climax isn't bad either. This is a story, though, I will say, out of all the stories in this season, this is the one I can easily see being a TV story. Even though I said Blood of the Time Lords is a great comfort listen, there's no way in hell it could have been done on TV, right? This is 100%, I could see this being a TV story. I could see the locations being done on TV. Everything is possible in 1970s Doctor Who with this story. So I'm going to give The Ravencliff Witch a 7 out of 10. It's not a bad story, but it's just not as good as Blood of the Time Lords. Then we have The Nine, the one that kicks... we have Dreams of Avarice, which kicks off the second part of the season, which was titled The Nine. Dreams of Avarice is fantastic. This is easily the best story of the season, by far. So, of course, this introduces the 9, who is a variation of the 11 and the 12 and all that stuff, who is a character created by Big Finish. He's a Time Lord who, every time he regenerates, his previous personalities stay in his head, so he's insane, because he's constantly got voices in his head talking to him. So this version is a kleptomaniac. The 9, he's a kleptomaniac. And the story did a very good job of using both comedy to show you his kleptomania, and then be like, okay, you've seen how crazy he can be with the kleptomania in like a comedy scene. Now we're going to put in a serious scene, and you're like, oh my god, this guy's insane. Like, they have the scene where... So basically the story starts off with the Doctor trying to steal an item because he wants to get it so the 9 doesn't get it. But he is, of course, unsuccessful. So when the 9 gets the item, he's like, oh, I got it, but I also stole this coffee machine because it was there, and it's mine now. And he goes to Thana, who's like his sidekick for a majority of the story, and he's like, I want to try it out. He goes, give me 2 coins, and she's like, why do I have to give you 2 coins? Use your own. He goes, but they're my coins. And she's like, it's your coffee machine. You could just get the coins back after. He goes, but what if they get stuck? And she's like, oh, whatever. I've only got 1 coin. He goes, that's fine. I only need 1 coffee. She goes, what about me? He goes, what about you? It's my coffee machine. He takes a sip of the coffee. I don't like it. She goes, well, let me try. And he goes, no, it's my coffee. Like, that is like a funny scene. And it's like, it shows you how deep his kleptomania goes. And then when he does something crazy later on in the story, it's understood. The Doctor is fantastic in the story. Guy Adams really got the Doctor in this story. Guy Adams is a name I see more and more in Big Finish. And I never quite understood why Big Finish was constantly using him all the time. But man, after this story, dude, Guy Adams, you can do whatever you want, man. I believe Guy Adams also wrote, for the first Doctor Adventures, he wrote The Great White Hurricane, which I said in my ranked video, fantastic story. I love The Great White Hurricane. Did Guy Adams do any other stories? Or I think that might have been his only... Oh, he did TikTok World as well. TikTok World's an alright story as well. The ending is the one bit of TikTok World I don't like. So Guy Adams, he's a pretty good writer from what I could see, and I know they trusted him to write a lot of other like really big stories. But I mean, from what I've heard from Guy Adams, go ahead, man. You did fantastic with this story. This story is phenomenal. So, like I said, the Doctor is really well characterized. He's got great comedic moments that just feel like Tom Baker. But then when he needs to get down and dirty, we're in business mode, he's there 100%, and I loved it. Detective Inspector Probert, who's the guy who arrests the Doctor, he is fantastic. Richard Dixon did a great job voicing him. I need more Richard Dixon, because he was fantastic in this story. Probert is the type of guy who he arrests the Doctor. He thinks the Doctor's a loose cannon, crazy, but he realizes the Nine's a bigger threat, so he kind of has to go along with the Doctor. And even though later on in the story he realizes the Doctor is the one person who can stop the Nine, he's not going to say it out loud because he's too proud. So he's just going to make fun of the Doctor. We have Thana, like I said, she's the sidekick kind of for the Nine for a majority of the story. She's actually part of his collection. He bought her because her species don't feel physical pain. They can't get hurt physically. Like, they can still die, but, like, through old age. They can't die from physical pain. Physical damage. Which the story does use this, that idea as well. And I want to even mention the fact that even the Nine's servant drones have a personality. And they are funny as hell. Love them. This story's fantastic. I'm so gonna re-listen to this one. This is a 9 out of 10. It's not a 10 out of 10. It's not perfect. It's not perfect, right? Because I do feel that there's a bit of padding near the end of, like, part 3, maybe. That's a bit of padding. A bit beginning of part 4, a bit of padding. They could have cut a bit. But still, it's a phenomenal story. Loved it from start to finish, mostly. Like I said, maybe tiny bits of padding here and there. That's nitpicking it. It is great. Dreams of Avarice is fantastic. And I'm so going to re-listen to this one. Like, these 2 stories up here, easy re-listens. We then have Shell Shock, written by Simon Bernard and Paul Morris. This is another World War story, which Doctor Who does 50,000 of. So the Doctor lands in World War One, not World War Two. It's always World War Two. This time we're mixing it up. We're just changing the World Wars here. And he lands in Germany. They take him over to the hospital, which has a lot of people dealing with shell shock, and it's the standard Doctor Who. He's a spy, type things. But the people suffering from shell shock go through this kind of treatment, and when they're finished with the treatment, suddenly they're all gung-ho. We're all fixed, shell shock's done, and they're all ready to go back into the war. However, a lieutenant tells the Doctor, we see someone go through it. He comes back. He's like, all right, I'm ready to go out for war. The lieutenant tells the Doctor, that guy was a pacifist. So once he says that, you start to realize, something sinister is going on here. And you start to see stuff like the Germans having, like, the machine that they use for their experiments is made with 21st century technology. And the Doctor's like, that should not be here. We see tanks the German army has. And it's like, this is way advanced technology. They should not have this. So now it's a thing. It's like, oh, okay, so who's supplying them with this? What do they want? Do they want to change the course of history? Do they want to use the German army for their own means? What's the reasoning, you know? That's what you have to figure out. Going through, we have Hannah. She's our companion for the week. She is a nurse in the hospital, and she's very much conflicted between, you know, fighting for her country, you know, German supremacy and all that, right? But also she sees what's going on to these soldiers, and she's like, this isn't right. So there we have Lieutenant Hans Hoffman, who he's the guy who kind of right away believes the Doctor and everything, and he and the Doctor start the investigation. We have Dr. Sturm, who he's a character who you start off not liking, but by the end of the story you do like. He's a guy he goes through quite a bit of an arc in this story. And then you have General Reinhardt, who he's the guy you like. Gordon Miles. He's the bad guy, but not really the bad guy. There's a bigger bad guy going on. General Reinhardt is just someone for you to divert your antagonism towards while we set up the alien, right? The aliens, the monster in this story, I will say, is stupid. I felt it was very stupid. I thought their idea was dumb. The way they're beaten in part 4 is awful. So that's the bad part about the story, is it just doesn't fully execute the ending and the whole alien part. Like the build-up and suspense to what's going on and the intrigue, like the first 2 parts, great. But then once we start to get into what the alien is, it loses me. So I'm going to give it a 7 out of 10. It's not a bad story, but I was expecting more from these two, Simon Bernard and Paul Morris, because, you know, they've done stuff like Aquitaine and The End of the Line and a bunch of stuff with Jacob Lightfoot that I hear is really good. So I was like, oh, great, I get to finally experience a story with them, and I just get average. So then we have the final peak season, the season finale. This is the worst story in the box set. Worst story of the season. So the Doctor arrives in Mervyn Peak, who he is an author/illustrator, and the Doctor mistakes him for Tolkien, which is funny. That's the funniest bit of the story, is the very beginning. And he says, oh, I'm so sorry. I thought you were Tolkien. Let me make it up to you. Have a trip in the TARDIS. So they arrive in this city, and they get separated from the TARDIS, so they work as newspaper cartoonists. And God, this plot is so nothing. Oh my god. So we have a cool idea where it's like Mervyn, like, you know, like some stuff he draws comes to life. Like he draws a vase, he draws a chair on a piece of paper, and it comes to life. Whoa, cool. What's the reason? He got shocked by an alien doodad, and he can do it. Okay. What was special about the alien thing that made it happen? Don't know. The villain of the story, who is Honor Valspira, she's trying to find the queen of the land, right? Because the queen's been missing for so long. Why does she want to find the queen? To kill her. Why does she want to kill her? I don't know. Rebellion? I don't know. The queen, they mentioned, like, you know, she hasn't aged. But they mentioned Valspira's aged, right? Because the queen says to Valspira, oh, you've gotten old. So it's like, oh, why did the queen not age? I don't know. Why can the queen have a certain power, right? The queen has a certain power. It's like, oh, how does she do that? I don't know. How did this place get alien technology in the first place? I don't know. The story doesn't tell you. A lot of characters in this are one-dimensional. That's on purpose. But the characters that I need to be not one-dimensional are still one-dimensional. Yeah, this is not a good story. It is a bummer, and the fact that you have to get the full box set to get the season finale, and it's not good, is a shame. So I give it a 5 out of 10. That's like right down the middle. Like, it can't get better than a 5. I might be persuaded to put it lower, but it's never going higher than a 5. I don't want to be rude, but like, because no one wants to say the story's bad, right? But it is bad. This is also the shortest one. Every story, these 4 up here are 4-parters. This is just a 2-parter. Maybe that's the problem. It needed more time to flesh itself out. Because they rush. The ending is very rushed. The ending, you can tell, it's like, oh, we're running out of time. Yeah, it's not good. It's not good. This is by Elizabeth Miles, who she's one of the more modern day Big Finish writers, and it's like, I can totally tell. So Elizabeth, I'm looking out for your stories. Because if your stories are all like this, it's very much a modern day Big Finish. Higher not because of merit, higher because of looks. Oh, look, it's a woman writer type thing. Anyway, that's it for Doctor Who, The Fourth Doctor Adventures, Season 11. Overall, pretty good season, bar the final story. The final story sucks. But then we have the first story, which is really good. Second story is alright. Third story, fantastic. Fourth story, it's okay. Final story sucks. And there's my ranking, of course. So we have Dreams of Avarice with a 9 out of 10. Blood of the Time Lords with an 8.5 out of 10. The Ravencliff Witch and Shellshock with a 7. And then Peak Season with a 5. Could go lower, but I'll just leave it at a 5 for now. So, what do you think? If you've heard this season and all these stories, let me know. If you agree with my order or not. If you don't, let me know your order in the comments down below and why. I'd like to know. Anyway, that's going to do it, and I will see you all next time.